Hello everyone, Gina Neal. Welcome to today's webinar hosted by Ciphr. Today we're looking at flexible benefits and inclusion, how to build a package that works for everyone. I'm thrilled to be joined today by Phil, our Managing Director, and Neil, our Director of Sales for Benefits at Ciphr. How are you today?
Morning.
Great. Here's a quick look at our agenda. I will quickly also run through the broader Ciphr software suite and solutions before handing over to Neil and Phil. But for today's agenda, we're going to be talking about Ciphr, the modern benefits landscape, understanding the benefits gap, designing inclusive and flexible benefits, making flexibility work in practice, and sustaining engagement and measuring value. We will also have time to answer your questions today, so if you do have any, please pop them in the Q&A function on your screen. The webinar is being recorded and we'll email it out to you afterwards so you can rewatch any elements you might want to focus on. So, Ciphr Benefits is just one of the software solutions we offer here at Ciphr. We provide end-to-end people management solutions right through the employee cycle, from recruitment and onboarding through to central HR, payroll software and bureau, as well as e-learning and D&I consultancy. Ciphr Benefits is offered as a fully integrated solution, giving a seamless journey for employees and avoiding duplication of data entry. Ciphr Benefits from Avantus is over 20 years old and is one of the leading providers of flexible benefits technology in the UK and is also hosted internationally. I will hand over to Phil now to talk about the modern benefit landscape.
Thank you, Gina. We'll just move to slide 1. Thank you. So today's really all about building a package of employee benefits that suits everybody. And by way of background, we've got a changing workforce demographic. Workplaces these days are multi-generational, and we really have to meet everybody's needs at different stages of their working lifestyle. We've got a move towards remote work. Since COVID, this is a massive thing, and it has changed the way we engage with employees. We all know about the cost of living pressures. It's in the news every day, and that's really affecting what employees are looking for from their employers. And finally, there is a risk of not evolving with the times, and we'll talk about that briefly a little bit later, but there's a risk of keeping your benefits portfolio static. Thank you, Gina.
Thank you. Next slide, please. Yes, so looking at sort of the market overall, we've certainly seen the UK benefits market shifting towards that personalisation and more choices, if you call it flex. Wellbeing and healthcare remains top with regards to investment and also requirements from employees. And so from an employer perspective, it's constantly balancing that cost pressures and also with talent retention. And if you ignore that, people start to move and they don't even know they have benefits. DEI and accessibility is increasingly embedded in the reward strategies as well, which is next slide. Yeah, the move to these personalised benefits. I mean, as we were saying, it is something that we're seeing growing in the marketplace, and I think it's around lifestyles, well-being budgets. It's an increasing key part of EVP. Next slide, please. And it is the growth in these health benefits. The NHS waiting times are driving demand for medical insurance. And we're also seeing the emergence of more digital healthcare and virtual GP access is certainly increasing. So it's easier to do things self-service. From the employer's perspective, it's focusing on the preventative side of healthcare. But obviously you've got to balance that up with the cost, which is also a major healthcare strategy focus that we're seeing. Phil, what products sort of help with regards to that journey on the I think I'm thinking of digital actually.
We've seen some really interesting stuff with based on sort of facial recognition software.
Yeah.
You can look at your phone, it can tell your blood pressure amongst a host of other things. It's technology we were a little bit skeptical about 18 months ago, but we know now this is really entering the fray. So I suspect that will become more mainstream.
Yes. So it's more self-service from the employee's perspective, but it's the employer that has to communicate that these services are available. And we are starting to see them percolating through into insurance products as well, aren't we? But like the GP access 24/7, that's also been an increase in usage and also how to access that. Next slide, please.
So the benefits gap, I don't think we dwell on this, but Gina, if you just pick up the next one. If we don't do anything, there's a real cost to it. And it's pretty obvious, really. Employees will get disengaged, they'll stop interacting with the benefits and the benefits platforms. They may not understand what we're talking about. This costs us money, so that's waste. Strategically, it impacts our talent acquisition and recognition. We do not want irrelevant benefits in the mix. And there's a long-term cost to this in terms of retention and recruitment. So, yeah, the message today really is to look at this carefully. Thank you. So I think if we get into the core of today's session, we won't cover all the benefits in the market that we see under this sort of banner of flexible benefits of inclusion, but there are some key areas. And as we go through, we'll give some examples. So high up on the agenda for all the businesses we work with, and indeed from research in the marketplace, mental health and wellbeing. It's a real priority in businesses. We've seen a lot of usage out of VAPs. Neil, I think, on the ground, usage of VAPs, you were saying the other day, gone up considerably.
Yes, right, absolutely. And I think it's the added services that are now being introduced into these sort of, some products have been, EAP have been around a long, long time, but the growth of these other services that we can also plug into the system has certainly helped, sort of hopefully help those employees that need the assistance.
Lovely. And I think burnout prevention, preventative care, presenteeism is a word that's entered the vocabulary, all being considered carefully by employers. I think we move on to the physical side of things. Thank you. We're certainly seeing, health cash plans have always been in the mix and have always been popular. There is definitely a resurgence, and I think they complement private medical schemes perfectly. And we know a lot of businesses are reviewing PMI, looking at excesses, trying to make it a bit more affordable for everybody. But the health cash plan completes that gap very nicely. We touched on digital health, and I don't know if you want to expand on that, Neil.
Yes, absolutely. So, as you say, there's a lot of great new products coming out, and we're starting to see that. We covered that earlier, probably. I don't need to go over that again.
Yeah, thank you. Gym discounts, they've been in the mix for as long as I've been in the market, 20 odd years. But I would say they are definitely spreading their wings in terms of what is covered through to more holistic care, massage, etc. We have a Gym Flex as a product too, working through salary sacrifice, additional savings. And on here we've got the menopause holistic wellbeing support. We've seen that becoming more of a feature in our client propositions. Thank you. Financial wellbeing. Neil, do you want to pick up on this one? This relates to the cost of living we were talking about, amongst other things.
Yes, there's over the probably last 7 years or so, there's been a growth in the earned wage access, drawing salaries down or income down before the end of the month, that type of offering. So they are becoming more sophisticated now, like most of these new things that come into the marketplace. And that's a great thing for certain employees and supported by the employer. The other area that we're seeing, which is great, is sort of support and education really around financial well-being. There's a lot of education we believe that you've got to do on sort of savings and obviously pensions. And I know times are tough, but even so, it was ignored for a few years, I feel. But that's now come back into an important products to have or services to have on any proposition. And I think the help of the internet and webinars such as these have certainly accelerated that support but yeah, no, that's not going to go away.
I think what I've seen recently around financial advice is a couple of things. There is an opportunity for salary sacrifice for financial advice, £500 a year. It's been little used, to be honest, and it is a sanctioned salary sacrifice under the OPRA rules, along with pension salary sacrifice. We are seeing more schemes based around that opportunity. So, you know, £500 a year, savings of 32 or 42% off that is quite attractive. And Neil, I think you and I, which might surprise the audience, are thinking about what we might do in our retirement in the future. It's a point where you seriously need advice.
Yeah.
Do you buy an annuity? Do you draw down? It is really complicated.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. We've also got the unbiased network with a corporate scheme, where it's a bit like a dating website, really. It matches individuals' requirements to a suitable advisor and forms that connection at discounted rates. So they're becoming really popular at the moment.
Yeah.
The slight darker cloud over salary sacrifice for pension, where they're going to put the limits in, is coming our way, but not until 2029. And we know policies can change with the current government and politics. So but that's just there to be considered.
Yeah, and also if clients do have their own advisor in the background, we often bring their information into our online platform. So that's with synchronization with what actual clients have as well. So yeah, and it's great to see that, as I say. So I'm a great fan of getting education out there quick.
Really good. I think the other thing we're also seeing, thinking about discount schemes, retail discount schemes, again, they've been in the mix for a long time.
Yeah.
Going way back in different shapes and forms. And it was a really big thing, I would say, about 15 years ago. We spent a lot of time talking about discount schemes and introducing them, and which provider had the better discount at Sainsbury's or M&S. Then it all faded a little bit. But I think in the last 18 months or so, that's really come back to the fore. And, it's just a cost of living thing. If you can save 5% off your groceries, you're going to do it. And the modern schemes are much easier to use. It's on your phone.
Yeah.
You don't have to get vouchers posted out to you, or however it used to work. It's very, very simple. You're in the queue, get your phone out, and away you go.
Yeah.
So we're seeing a resurgence of interest along those lines.
Yeah, speed was rich to get those discounts. If you're at the till and being queued, you need the voucher then.
Yeah, we were talking about earned wage access, which has really been a benefits thing. It's been more a payroll type opportunity, but we're being brought into that world too in benefits, and it's not for everybody, but it does allow people to draw down on their monthly pay earlier in the month, and there are lots of rules around it. But that's another interesting one that some business may wish to look at.
Yeah. Next slide, please.
Flexible working. So we talked about the hybrid world we're living in, and that's not going anywhere fast. There's many positive sides to it. I think where we get involved heavily in this is in our holiday trading schemes. So the most common one we see is where a business will offer its employees the opportunity to buy typically up to 5 days. It's massively popular. There is a small cost to people monthly, of course. It's a pre-tax deduction, so people save tax and NI, but they get an extra week's holiday. And the benefit of that is really powerful. And actually, it does save businesses money. So on the assumption you're not replacing the resource for extra holiday, you will save tax and NI and the salary. NI and the salary on that holiday that's traded. And that's really valuable, and it suits everybody. People use it to have more time as a carer with children or elderly parents. Some just like extra holiday. A hugely popular benefit.
Whereas about 10 plus years ago, it was obviously available then, but less companies wanted to offer that. They felt that the work wouldn't be done, but I think that's not been proven the case. People tend to do the work even if they've taken extra days.
They do. I mean, we're all pretty good delegators the last day before we go on holiday, aren't we? You wonder why you're not like that all the time.
Yeah. If you can, yeah.
Yeah.
Next slide, please. Phil?
So family support. So we childcare, huge cost for parents. We've lost the childcare voucher scheme. Unfortunately, it lasted from 2005 and was closed to new entrants in 2018, and it's tailed off very significantly now. Government have replaced it with some support, and you've got up to 30 hours free, but you still talk to young parents who are really frightened by the cost of childcare. There are workplace nurseries, and in certain circumstances, that can be a really good salary sacrifice dynamic, but the rules are quite tight. We've seen a lot of interest in elder care, and Neil, I know you've had some focus with this with recent clients.
Yes, they've certainly, getting support, emergency sort of care for elder folk in the family. So that's an interesting development, but relevant to our world nowadays. We're all living longer and perhaps needing more support as we get older. So yeah.
I mean, we did say we wouldn't plug individual providers, but I have to say Lottie's service is very good. Having experienced it myself with elderly parents, if you're searching for some support, care homes, in-house support, general advice, they're very good. And that features in a lot of our benefits platforms these days. We can't forget the green initiatives. We've been involved in Cycle to Work scheme pretty much since it began, which actually was 1999. Under, I believe, the Labour Party's Green Transport Initiative. It's forever popular. I think we did just under £2 million worth of bikes through our salary sacrifice Cycle to Work scheme last year across our customers, mainly through the major retailers, but we use the independents too. And we see no shortage of people taking up Cycle to Work, even though a lot of people are working from home more. But yeah, very, very popular policy, full tax break. Electric cars have really come to the fore. And whilst benefit in kind rates have gone up a little, it's still a huge tax break and employers save on the NI too. A few complexities around it, what happens if somebody leaves, etc., etc. But the key providers in the space have pretty much nailed those. They've put measures in place that stop employers needing to worry. So we're seeing that become a really popular scheme across all clients. And I think the other interesting element we've seen, reward and recognition schemes. We do a lot of these. And the rewards used to be at voucher. There are various ones, Amazon, Prezi, and others. We still see those across all schemes, but you're seeing alternatives. And Neil, you've seen some quite interesting ones recently, haven't you? People coming up with lunches and...
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so yeah, it's not all about sort of direct monetary value, but yeah, some clients actually use the rewards to redeem the points against having extra time off or going to work for a local charity. So again, it's dovetailing the culture of the business and the employees and understanding those so that they can be dovetailed a little bit better. So rather than just perhaps having an Amazon voucher, to redeem points against some extra time off to do some care work locally. So yeah, next slide, please.
Yeah, are you happy to run through?
Yeah, I think yes, that's right. Yeah, so we've obviously raced through so lots of different things there. We've got some questions coming in as well, and we'll pick those up shortly. So I think the key to communicating and offering the benefits is to offer them without it being too complicated for employees to engage with them. So you do need clear benefit design. We can filter and bring to the forefront in the systems benefits that are relevant to groups of employees or age driven. So whether it's financial sort of support, financial advice, retirement counselling for people older. We find that focusing on the messaging that gets sent out, it then hopefully draws people in without overwhelming them. So yeah, basically keep it flexible but without the too complicated. and making sure that the messages, the systems, there's an easy engagement process, so it's then easier to administer in the background.
And all that can be automated with the messaging, so it's
yes.
not a big demand on HR's time, for example.
No, that's right. And what we have seen is organisation on the sort of scalability and flexibility. If you make it nice and without the complexity, it's much easier to manage, isn't it, Phil? We've seen some very complicated benefit packages that require some extra work done because it's so complicated across all different rules. But that's what we like to guide people through, to make things straightforward, easy, and relevant. Thank you.
So just picking up on this, we've touched on communication, accessibility is embedded in everything we do. But I think other key things that are really important, find out what your staff are thinking. Use the survey tools that are out there to get their feedback, really valuable, and it helps with engagement if people have had a voice. We know a lot of employees don't use the benefits in the way they should. That comes back to communication and making the process really easy. We touched on complexity of schemes. That doesn't help. You do need really good choice to be inclusive, but we always say a really good selection of well curated benefits that deliver a real saving or value is much better than just a smorgasbord of everything. We are seeing in organizations trying to make comms simpler in plain English. I think there's been a tendency, certainly in financial worlds, to be complicated and acronyms. We're coming away from that. And we touch on accessibility. That's really key in modern design.
Yeah. And so where we have clients that use our comms tools, the usage, the signing in for different employees is certainly considerably higher than where there's no direct link to the system. So yeah, drawing people in, focused, targeted messages to groups of employees, whether it's age or job division. That's how you get engagement.
Right. Touch on data. Analytics is a key thing. And we do get surprised by what the data tells us sometimes. It's not always your gut instinct or thoughts. So we're using analytics, as are the industry all over. It's driving better decisions and helping us make sure the investment is in the right area. So that, again, ROI, we're much more able to measure that thanks to analytics and data than we used to be. And that's gaining importance and relevance with our customers. We talked about segmentation with targeting of communications. That can be really easily automated based on certain criteria. So different groups get a different message at different times. And benchmarking. So again, thanks to good data across our industry and across our clients, we can see who's doing what. And in an anonymized way, we can report back on where things are going. We call it insight, and it's a big thing.
Next slide.
So this really is wrapping up the session, which has been all about how to build a package that works for everybody. We haven't covered everything. I think what's looking good in 2026, so personalized experience. We go on about it a lot, but it matters. Year-round engagement, I mean, that's important. The traditional flex scheme going back 10 years, it was a once-a-year activity. You had a window of opportunity to make all your selections, and then you pretty much forgot about it for the rest of the year. It's completely different now. There is stuff available all the time, and we can work with benefits providers to make that happen. Data-driven, we touched on that. That's key in making better decisions. And I think the last thing is things evolve. We are constantly having opportunities to look at new providers. Some of it we love, some of it we don't, but we always would encourage our clients to talk to us, keep talking, and we can easily add things to the benefits platforms and propositions. And I think that heads us into Q&A.
Yeah, and I've been reviewing the Q&As actually as we've been going through. I know Gina has as well. So should we go into that section, I think, now? Sorry, Gina.
No, so I mean, you go for it. It's fine. It's fine.
Sorry, I don't mind. Yeah. So Yeah, a few questions in here. I think we may have touched on some of the answers. So Jen asked a question that really struggling to get field-based staff, particularly men, involved and reacting to the benefits. And I think because this particular person here has got lots and lots of benefits for the employees, and I think that's going back to the latter part of what we were just talking about, which is the comms and targeted comms and gentle nudges from the system to remind people about that they can access this on a mobile, they can access this, at any point, and also obviously talking to them, trying to get them to do a survey, which we also know is sometimes a challenge, but just keep them nice and brief, those surveys. They shouldn't be too long, to try and get some interaction with that. Gina, you've got
I was just going to say, Jen's also asked, we looked for family support or caring support, but everything we found had a minimum number of people. We wanted it as part of our flex benefits that people could choose. Even Lottie, any tips?
Yeah, wow, it's always a problem with the minimum number of employees. I'm sorry, it's like insurance companies. They do have minimum numbers for doing full flex, and that we're driven by the product providers at the end of the day. Phil, have you got any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I'm surprised that some of these in the wider care are imposing minimums. It's something we could certainly look at and respond to, and maybe outside of the session.
Yeah. So Jen, we'll get something back for you.
I've also we launched Flex 2 years ago and engagement has tailed off. How do you keep a scheme alive after 1 year?
So this is this big word, comms, isn't it, Phil?
Yeah, it's all about comms, targeted comms. And I think we talked about evolution of benefits. We like to, when we introduce a new client, we don't throw everything at it at once. It's really good to have some things in transition that you introduce after 6 months, after a year, and do it progressively. So some things at the start, you'll say, right, we'll do that in 6 months' time. But equally as important, as it evolves, we introduce new things in the market anyway. Yeah. So I would strongly recommend that. Slightly different tack, reward and recognition schemes. We all love a reward. That's a very powerful way of keeping people engaged.
Yeah.
So
and of course, before 2020, I mean, there were a lot of benefit fairs hosted on site within companies. They are still going on, of course. So that helps in getting that, reminding people about the benefits on offer. Also, the virtual way of doing a mini webinar on renewal, on the benefits, what's available, getting providers talking about their products. That helps as well. So it's a number of things I would suggest.
I've got another one. We're thinking about moving to Flex. What's the most common mistake when moving to Flex?
Trying to do too much too quickly to frighten the employees. So I think Phil just touched on it actually, about that sort of getting things in a controlled manner. What we often do is initially just get all the existing benefits online for the employees so they're used to seeing a system, and then start to introduce these benefits. And it's again bound to the communication as the rollout. So that's a big discussion on itself.
Yeah, I would just say I can't think of a client launch ever that hasn't gone down really well.
No.
So whilst you can make little mistakes here and there, and the comms aren't always perfect, usually the response from the staff is very positive.
I'm just looking at this time. We're actually, sorry, just nearly out of time here. Any questions that we haven't answered, we will get comms together for everybody and send over some answers to those questions as well. Really, I just want to say thank you for joining today. If you are watching it live, the recording will be emailed over to you. And if you'd like to learn more about Ciphr Solutions, you can opt in using the exit form on your screen after the broadcast, or you can email info@ciphr.com. But really fantastic. Thank you for joining us today. And everyone have a great rainy or sunny day, whatever it decides to do today.
Raining.
Thank you, everybody.
All right.
Okay.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Until next time.